My life ended the moment they brought me the wrong latte. No, really. Imagine being me. Serafina Valente, 21, heiress to a fortune so big that entire European cities probably owed us rent, and they had the audacity, the sheer disrespect, to bring me a latte with oat milk instead of almond. My world collapsed in that single sip. Unacceptable, I declared, tossing the cup onto the marble floor of my penthouse as if I were staging a war. The frothy liquid spread like a crime scene. My stylist gasped. My driver winced. Even the poodle, Dior, barked in horror. Miss Valente, my assistant Clarissa began, trembling as if I'd slap her with a Chanel clutch. I'm going to the spa. I cut her off, dramatic as a telenovela actress. Don't wait up. Tell the universe I'm not taking calls today. I grabbed my diamond-studded phone, tossed my silk robe over my shoulders, and clicked my Louboutins all the way to the elevator. Because when life betrays you, when destiny crushes you, when your latte comes with the wrong milk, you need a spa day. The car ride was a blur of tinted windows and sulking. I refused to talk to the driver. He had been the one to suggest the cafe. Betrayal. I simply muttered, "Take me to the exclusive retreat," and stared out at the city as if plotting revenge against dairy companies worldwide. But maybe, just maybe, the universe was listening. Because when the car pulled up, I saw heaven. Tall gates of black steel, men in sharp suits, a massive villa with guarded doors. Finally, I whispered. Privacy, elegance, exclusivity. The driver looked nervous. Miss Valente, are you sure? Do I look unsure? I snapped, already swinging the car door open. The guards at the entrance stiffened, whispering into earpieces. Men in suits and dark glasses. Security at a spa? Delicious. That's how you know it's really exclusive. I strutted forward. My heels hit the pavement like gunshots. Reservation for Serafina Valente, I announced, waving my hand as if that alone should be enough to part oceans. The guards exchanged looks. One actually reached for his weapon. How quaint. You're not on the list, the taller one muttered. Excuse me? I hissed. Do you know who my father is? Do you know how many millions my skin alone is worth? Do you understand the catastrophe of telling me no? Their faces went pale. I smirked. That's what I thought. Now, escort me in before I call my lawyer and sue this spa into dust. And just like that, doors opened. The air inside was thick. Not with lavender and eucalyptus, but smoke. Heavy, musky smoke. Men lounged on leather couches. A massive chandelier dripped light onto a long oak table stacked with, was that money? Bundles of it, and guns. Lots of guns. Wow, I whispered, clapping my hands. A themed spa! So immersive. The men looked up. Deadly stares, cold eyes, like they wanted to murder me where I stood. I flipped my hair. Don't mind me. I'll take the VIP treatment package. The works, hot stone massage, champagne bath, something to fix my aura. Oh, and gluten-free snacks. Silence. Then, laughter. Not the good kind. The deep, guttural, menacing kind that belonged in movies where people died. A tall man at the head of the table leaned back, his gold ring glinting as he lit a cigar. His eyes sparkled with chaos, mischief, and madness. Dante Rossi. Though, of course, I didn't know his name yet. I get to know it very soon. Now this, he said, exhaling smoke like a dragon. This is entertainment. A darker figure stood beside him, colder, sharper. His suit was perfection, his tie tighter than my waist corset, his eyes like daggers made of ice. He didn't laugh. He didn't smile. He just stared, Adrian Moretti. Yeah, I get to know his name after a while, but I am saying it early just for you all, darlings. The room shifted around him, as if even shadows feared him. She walks in here like she owns the place, Adrian muttered, voice low and dangerous. We should kill her before she opens her mouth again. My jaw dropped. Kill me? At a spa? Ridiculous. This must be part of their immersive role play. Oh my God, I squealed. You guys are so committed to the act. Mafia cosplay? Genius. I live for this. The men blinked. I crossed my arms, glaring at Adrian. But excuse me, Mr. Ice Statue, that tone? Not acceptable customer service. 1 star. A few of the guards actually choked on their laughter. Dante grinned wider. I like her, Dante said. She's got fire. She's got a death wish, Adrian growled. I rolled my eyes. No, darling, I have standards. Now bring me champagne. The good kind. Crystal. Not that cheap bottle service nonsense. And someone light some vanilla candles in here. It stinks of testosterone and cigars. Gasps. Whispers. As if I'd just declared war. But then, they moved. One man actually scrambled to pour champagne. Another lit a candle. Dante leaned back, amused beyond reason. Adrian's jaw tightened like he was seconds from pulling the trigger. And me? I sat down in the grand leather chair, his chair apparently, crossed my legs and declared, "Well, chop chop. If this is a spa, then I expect to be treated like the queen I am." The chandelier trembled above us. The men bowed their heads slightly. And that's the exact moment, without even realizing it, I became the Mafia's new. If there's one thing I know in life, it's that when you look fabulous, people listen. And I looked fabulous. My silk robe still smelled faintly of expensive perfume. My curls bounced with every movement, and my nails, marble gel with tiny rhinestones, caught the chandelier light like diamonds. So when I sat down in that ridiculously oversized leather chair, the entire room held its breath. Finally, service, champagne, I said, snapping my fingers. A glass was placed in my hand so quickly I nearly dropped it. Better. Now tell me, what spa treatment is this? Mafia LARPing? Yakuza yoga? Gangster glow-up? The men exchanged glances. Some looked terrified, some amused, others like they were ready to faint. Dante Rossi, the one with the devil's grin, leaned forward, elbows on the table. Interesting guest we've got here. Guest? Pfft. Try royalty. But Adrian, the ice statue, didn't flinch. He hadn't stopped staring at me since I walked in, his jaw sharp enough to slice glass. "She doesn't belong here," he said, his voice like knives. "This is a liability." "Oh, lighten up, Frosty," I said, swirling the champagne. "It's called customer care. You should try it sometime. Maybe crack a smile, no? Didn't think so." A muffled laugh broke out from one of the men. Adrian's glare snapped toward him and silence fell instantly. The poor guy looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 seconds. I clicked my tongue. You see, this is why spas invest in customer service training. You can't just glare at your clients like they're roadkill. Unprofessional. The room froze again. And then, like I'd just declared myself queen of the universe, Dante started clapping. Slow, sarcastic, theatrical. "Oh, this is rich. She walks into our den, insults my men, insults you." He nodded toward Adrian, who looked like he wanted to strangle me on the spot, and demands service. "I like her spirit." "Spirit? Darling, it's called class." One of the guards whispered near Dante's ear. Something about undercover, setup, and testing loyalty. I perked up. Ooh, secret codes, love it. Escape room vibes. That's when Dante's grin widened. Maybe she's not clueless after all. Adrian's expression darkened. "Don't tell me you're entertaining this madness." Dante leaned back, exhaling smoke rings toward the chandelier. Think about it. A girl like this doesn't just wander in. She's bold, arrogant, fearless. Either she's the dumbest heiress alive, or she's the smartest player we've met yet. And I find that fascinating. Wait, hold up. Smartest what? I nearly choked on my champagne. Excuse me? No, I did just wander in. I'm here for facials, not whatever weird theater production this is. Adrian's eyes narrowed. She's lying. I am not. I snapped. Do you think I'd willingly sit in a room that smells like cigars and testosterone if I had other options? Please, I could be getting a seaweed wrap right now. Laughter again. Real, raw laughter this time. Even the guards cracked smiles. Adrian's fist clenched against the table. He looked at me as if my existence was an insult carved into the earth itself. She's mocking us. No, Dante corrected, amusement dripping from every word. She's mocking you. Oh, I liked Dante already. All right, I said, finishing the champagne in one dramatic gulp and slamming the glass down. Enough chit-chat. If this spa wants to be taken seriously, you'll need to step up your service. I expect massages, mani-pedis, and a skincare consultation within the hour, and do something about the decor. Guns and money piles are so last season. The silence this time was reverent, like I'd just ordered them to assassinate a president, not redecorate their clubhouse. Dante smirked, eyes glinting with mischief. You heard her. Get to work, my jaw dropped. Wait, what? But it was too late. The men scattered, half confused, half panicked. One actually gathered up wads of cash as if they were dirty towels. Another tried awkwardly stacking rifles in the corner, muttering something about feng shui. Adrian looked like he was about to combust. His hands gripped the edge of the table so tightly veins bulged in his forearms. This is insane. I leaned back in the chair, smirking. No, darling. This is luxury. The next hour was chaos. Beautiful, absurd chaos. Someone brought me a bowl of fruit, apples and bananas, clearly supermarket quality. Do I look like a monkey? I scolded. Bring me grapes. Seedless. Another man nervously tried giving me a shoulder massage with hands that felt like they'd been breaking bones all their lives. I swatted him away, gentle, not like you're kneading bread dough. And the best part? They listened. Every ridiculous order I gave, they scrambled to fulfill. Out of fear, out of confusion, out of sheer desperation not to anger Dante? I didn't know, didn't care. All I knew was that for once, people listened. It was intoxicating, but then, Adrian always looming, always glaring, his presence like an ice storm in the middle of my spa fantasy. He hadn't left the room. He hadn't even sat down. He just watched, waiting for me to slip, to expose myself as the fraud he thought I was. Finally, he stepped closer. Too close. His cologne was sharp, clean, masculine, with a faint trace of gunpowder. You don't belong here, he said, voice low enough that only I heard. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Oh, and where do I belong? The Ritz? Chanel headquarters? Monaco? He leaned in, his lips brushing dangerously close to my ear. A coffin. A shiver shot down my spine. But did I let him see it? Absolutely not. Instead, I smiled. Sweet, sharp, dangerous in my own spoiled way. Well, darling, until you have the paperwork signed and notarized, I'll be here enjoying my spa day. So why don't you fetch me some sparkling water? With lemon, thinly sliced. Not wedges, slices. For the first time, Adrian's jaw twitched. Just a little crack in his perfect mask of control, and oh, I lived for it. That was the moment I realized. I wasn't just playing in their world. I was winning. If confidence was a weapon, I was armed to the teeth. By the third glass of champagne, I had fully accepted my new role as the most demanding spa client in history. The men scurried like ants, rearranging piles of cash into neat stacks. Fold it properly like towels, please. Aligning guns along the wall. Minimalist display, chic, very modern. And even lighting candles they clearly stole from some poor man's living room. Meanwhile, Dante Rossi sat back like a king at a circus, cigar smoke curling from his lips as he watched me command his men with a spoiled smile. Unbelievable, Adrian muttered for the 100th time, arms crossed, fury radiating off him like a second sun. What's unbelievable, I corrected, sipping champagne, is that you run a business with this level of ambiance. Honestly, my nail salon has better vibes. Somebody coughed into their fist to hide a laugh. Adrian's glare silenced them instantly. Oh, he hated me. Delicious. Then Dante stood, just stood, and the entire room froze. He strolled toward me, the grin on his face growing wider, sharper. His eyes, mad, cunning, always scheming, landed on me like I was the most entertaining puzzle he'd ever seen. You, he said. I fluttered my lashes. Me. You walk in here like you own the place. Well, I do own every room I step into. It's called presence. The men shifted uncomfortably. Adrian looked like he wanted to strangle me with his tie. Dante laughed. Loud, booming, unhinged laughter that echoed through the entire villa. Then suddenly, he slammed his hand down on the oak table. She's perfect. Perfect? Oh, I knew that already, but it was nice to hear. For what? Adrian snapped. Dante's grin widened. For leadership. The room went still. Ice in veins. Knives in the air. My champagne glass wobbled in my hand. Excuse me? I squeaked. She's fearless, Dante continued, pointing at me like I was a miracle he'd conjured. She walks in with no hesitation. Commands men like she's been doing it her whole life. Insults you, he gestured at Adrian, and lives to tell the tale. Tell me that's not boss material. Boss? As in leader? As in charge? I almost laughed champagne straight out of my nose. Oh my God, I said, clapping once. This is all an immersive spa roleplay, isn't it? Mafia fantasy. You guys are hilarious. Crowning me as boss? Wow. 10 out of 10 commitment. Nobody laughed, because they weren't joking. Adrian slammed his hand down on the table hard enough to make the glasses rattle. This is madness. She's an outsider. She's a spoiled brat who walked into the wrong building, I gasped. Spoiled brat? How dare you! I am a connoisseur of luxury. And for your information, this building has better champagne than my last spa. So clearly I walked into the right place. Dante, Adrian growled, ignoring me completely. If you're serious about this, you're putting everything we've built at risk. And if I'm serious, Dante shot back with a wild smile, I'm putting everything we've built into chaos. And chaos, Adrian, is opportunity. The men began whispering among themselves. The words new boss floated through the air like bullets. My heart pounded. Oh no, wait, I stammered, sitting up straighter. I didn't sign up for this. I came here for cucumber water and facials, not... Dante leaned down right into my space, his eyes glinting. Oh, darling. You walked in. You sat in the chair. You gave orders. And now, whether you like it or not, it's yours. He gestured toward me dramatically, like a magician revealing his trick. Gentlemen, Dante declared, voice booming through the villa. Meet your new boss. The room erupted. Cheers, shouts, confused applause. Some men looked horrified, others oddly relieved, and me? I froze. Because in their eyes, I wasn't just Serafina Valente, spa enthusiast, latte victim, luxury queen. I was boss Serafina. Adrian stormed toward me, grabbing the arm of the chair and leaning down until his icy glare burned into my soul. You won't survive this, he hissed. Not one day, I smirked, hiding the panic fluttering in my chest. Please, I've survived worse. Like Paris Fashion Week without front row seats. This is nothing. For the first time, Adrian faltered, just for a second. His lips parted, then closed again, like he couldn't decide if I was insane or invincible. Dante clapped his hands, breaking the tension. Celebrate. Our new boss has arrived. Suddenly, champagne bottles popped. Glasses clinked. Men shouted, "To the boss!" And before I could even process what was happening, someone was crowning me, literally, placing a ridiculous golden chain around my neck like I'd just won a gang-themed beauty pageant. I sat there, frozen, sparkling under the chandelier light, and it hit me. I wasn't in a spa. I wasn't in a role play. I wasn't in control. And somehow, I'd just become the queen of the mafia. Boss Serafina. A man shouted, raising his glass like we were in some dark, murderous version of The Great Gatsby. Boss! Another echoed. The room was alive with voices, clinking glasses, gunmetal gleaming under the chandelier. Dante sat at the head of the chaos, smirking like a proud father who'd just adopted a feral cat. Adrian, on the other hand, looked like he was about to commit his first ever public homicide. Stop this! He barked, his voice slicing through the noise. She's not... Excuse me, I interrupted, lifting my hand like a queen silencing peasants. If this is a celebration, the least you could do is serve canapes. Where are the truffle sliders? The caviar? Do you expect me to toast on an empty stomach? Barbaric. The room went quiet. All eyes turned to me. For a moment, I thought they might shoot me on the spot. And then, someone scrambled out of the room like his life depended on it. Minutes later, a tray of random snacks appeared. Olives, salami, cheese cubes, and, God help us, a Twinkie. I raised a brow. This is rustic. Adrian's jaw clenched so hard I could hear it grind. Dante laughed until his cigar nearly fell from his mouth. The men were waiting for something. Orders, maybe, or a declaration, and that's when I realized, oh no. They actually expected me to do something. My palms went clammy under the diamond bracelet, but I kept my voice light, airy, commanding. All right, darlings, since I am apparently your boss, I nearly choked on the word. Let's set some rules. Rule 1, no ugly shoes. If you're going to guard me, you're going to look fabulous. Rule 2, always have sparkling water available. Still waters for peasants. Rule 3, if anyone interrupts my nap time, I will cry, and trust me, it's scarier than bullets. Silence. Then, to my horror, someone shouted, Yes, boss! Another echoed, Understood, boss! I sipped my champagne, praying my mascara didn't smear from the sweat forming at my temples. Adrian finally snapped. He slammed his palms onto the table, leaning so close that the champagne rippled. This is absurd, he growled, his voice so low it rumbled in my bones. "You can play your little spoiled games, princess, but this isn't a playground. These men don't take orders from you." "Oh, they don't?" I purred, tilting my head. "Funny, because they just did." Murmurs rippled through the room. Adrian's eyes blazed, the icy blue hardening into steel. For the briefest moment, the air between us crackled, his fury against my smirk, his discipline against my chaos. I leaned back, watching us like it was the best soap opera of his life. "Careful, Adrian. She's got more control over your men in one afternoon than you've had in months." The vein in Adrian's temple pulsed. "Because they think she's a joke." "Or," Dante countered, grinning wickedly, "because she's the first person who's made them laugh in years." Lunch arrived, or at least something resembling it. Platters of pasta, roasted meat, bread baskets. It looked like a mafia feast straight out of The Godfather. The men gathered, filling plates, but nobody touched theirs until I picked up a fork. I froze. "They're waiting for me?" Dante raised his glass. "To Boss Serafina. May her reign be as short as it is entertaining." The men laughed, glasses lifted. I forced a smile and raised mine too, to better spa services and fewer ugly suits. A roar of approval followed. Adrian didn't drink. His glass remained untouched, his glare fixed entirely on me. I tried to eat, I really did. But the weight of every stare pressed down like 100 designer handbags. Each bite felt like a performance. So, naturally, I performed. "Oh my God," I said, chewing delicately. "This pasta is divine. Compliments to the chef. See, this is the kind of service I expect. Keep it up, and maybe I'll give you all 5 stars on Yelp." Someone actually clapped. Adrian's fork bent in his hand. After lunch, Dante clapped his hands for attention. "Now that our queen has been crowned, let's see if she's got teeth. Boss Serafina, what's your first command?" "My first command? Oh, hell." My mind raced. Guns, money, mafia, oh God. My spoiled brain flipped through options like a Rolodex of disasters. Then I remembered something Clarissa had said once, about leadership being all about delegating with confidence. I sat taller, placed my napkin gently on the table, and said, "First command, fix the lighting in this place. It's giving funeral home. I want something brighter, livelier. Ambiance is everything." The room went dead silent, and then, like clockwork, men moved. Bulbs were unscrewed, lamps dragged in. Somebody even opened a curtain, and golden sunlight flooded the room. Dante was practically crying with laughter. Adrian looked like he wanted to put a bullet in his own head. And me? I leaned back, smiled, and sipped my champagne. Because somehow, some way, by lunch, I had gone from spa enthusiast to unquestioned mafia queen. I've always believed luxury isn't about money. It's about details. The mood lighting, the subtle scents, the way a room either screams class or whispers cheap hotel in Ibiza, and this spa. Darling, it needed my touch. "Show me the facilities," I announced after lunch, standing up so dramatically that my silk robe flared like a cape. Adrian's brow twitched. "Facilities?" "Yes," I said, planting a hand on my hip. "The hot stone rooms, the steam baths, the private massage suites. Do I look like the kind of woman who spends her entire spa day sitting at a table with salami?" A ripple of laughter spread across the men. Adrian's glare killed it instantly. "You don't get to wander around here," he said flatly. "Oh, but I do." I batted my lashes sweetly. "You see, I'm the boss. Remember?" Dante chuckled from his seat. "She's right, Adrian. Let the queen explore her kingdom. My kingdom. Yes. Perfect." So off I went, heels clicking down long hallways while 2 unlucky guards scrambled to escort me. Adrian followed at a distance, radiating murderous intent like an aura. The first door I flung open revealed a room stacked wall to wall with rifles. I gasped. "What a bold decor choice. Is this yoga equipment?" The guards froze. I marched inside, picking up a polished gun like it was a prop. "Ooh, heavy, not very ergonomic. Do you expect clients to stretch with these? What if it ruins their posture?" One guard nearly fainted. Adrian strode forward, snatching the gun from my hand with terrifying speed. "Put that down before you shoot yourself," he growled. I narrowed my eyes. "Don't talk to me like I'm some idiot. I've used heavy equipment before." "Oh, really?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. Where? A Pilates class? Exactly, I said proudly. Adrian closed his eyes like he was praying for patience. The next room was worse. I swung the door open and gasped dramatically. Oh my God. A VIP treatment suite. Inside, a man sat tied to a chair, gagged, bruised, and glaring like he wanted to bite through steel. 2 mafia men stood beside him with baseball bats. I squealed. Role-play therapy? This spa is so ahead of the curve. The 2 men blinked at me, utterly lost. Take that rope off, I commanded, striding forward. You'll leave bruises. Unacceptable for post-treatment photos. The guards looked at Adrian. Adrian looked like he was 10 seconds away from a stroke, but I was already fussing over the tied-up man. Sir, have they offered you cucumber water? No, appalling. We'll have that fixed immediately. The gagged man stared at me, murder in his eyes. I smiled sweetly. Don't worry, darling. You're safe with me. No one leaves a spa unhappy on my watch. Then I turned to the guards. Untie him, now! The guards hesitated, trembling. Adrian's hand twitched toward his gun. Do it, I snapped. Or I swear, I'll write the nastiest Yelp review you've ever seen. And God help us, they obeyed. The rival mafia member, because of course that's what he was, sprang up the second he was free. He looked ready to kill until Adrian's gun clicked behind his ear. Try it, Adrian warned. See what happens. The man froze. I clapped. Bravo! Such commitment to the act. Truly thrilling. This must be part of the immersive experience, yes? Nobody corrected me. Nobody dared. I leaned closer to the rival's face, tilting my head. You're welcome for the rescue, darling. When you leave, don't forget to leave me a 5-star review. #Boss Serafina. His confusion was almost as good as Adrian's fury. By the time we left the suite, Adrian was practically vibrating with rage. You just untied a man we've been interrogating for weeks, he hissed. Interrogating? Ugh, such an ugly word. Think positive. Call it an intense spa therapy session. You could have ruined everything. His voice was low, dangerous, and far too close to my ear. I smiled sweetly, ignoring the way my pulse betrayed me. And yet, I didn't. The rest of the tour was more of the same. A cash-counting room. I called it a tacky attempt at aesthetic minimalism, and ordered them to arrange the stacks into pyramids for visual appeal. The surveillance room. I mistook it for a wellness meditation zone, and demanded they add plants and salt lamps. The armory? I declared it a strength training gym, and suggested pastel-colored dumbbells to soften the vibe. And through it all, Adrian's face got tighter, his glares sharper, his patience thinner. Dante, of course, was delighted. He trailed after us like a proud father at his daughter's disastrous ballet recital. Do you see it now, Adrian? He kept saying. She's chaos incarnate. Exactly what we need. Adrian's response was always the same. A death glare that could melt steel. But me? I felt powerful. Not just because they obeyed my ridiculous demands. Not just because I had a glass of champagne in one hand the entire time. But because, for once, the world bent around me. And even though I didn't fully understand what was happening, even though part of me whispered this was spiraling out of control, I didn't want it to stop. The second the door slammed behind us, I knew I was in trouble. Adrian had dragged me into some private office, the kind with leather chairs, a mahogany desk, and shelves lined with books I was 100% sure he'd never read. His hand still gripped my wrist, tight enough to sting, though not tight enough to actually hurt. He let go with a sharp flick, like my touch burned him. Do you have any idea what you just did? His voice was low, dangerous, vibrating with the kind of rage that could shatter glass. I fluffed my robe, completely unfazed. Yes, I improved your spa's customer service by at least 300%. Spa? He laughed once, cold, sharp, terrifying. This isn't a spa, princess. I froze. Just a little. My heart skipped a beat. What did you just call me? Princess. His eyes narrowed. Because that's exactly what you are. Spoiled, naive, completely out of your depth. Something hot snapped in my chest. No one spoke to me like that. Excuse me? My voice rose, sharp and cutting. Spoiled? Naive? I'll have you know I am extremely cultured, well-educated, and perfectly capable of running. I gestured vaguely around the room. Whatever this is. His laugh was darker this time, more like a threat. You think this is a game? You untied a man who would slit your throat without hesitation. I tilted my chin, refusing to flinch, and yet he didn't. Maybe because he respected me. Maybe because I command respect, something you clearly struggle with. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Adrian's jaw flexed. His hands curled into fists, and his eyes, God, those eyes, were burning holes straight through me. Listen carefully, he said, stepping forward until I had to tilt my head back, just to meet his gaze. This world isn't made for people like you. One wrong move, one slip, and you're dead. Understand? Dead. And no one will care. The words should have scared me, should have sent me running back to my designer-clad bubble of safety. Instead, my pulse quickened. My cheeks heated. My breath caught. Not because of fear, but because of him. The danger radiating off him was magnetic, addictive, and I hated myself for wanting more of it. I crossed my arms, forcing a scoff. You're being dramatic. Dad, Shimdad. I've survived worse, oh yeah? His voice dropped, almost a whisper. What's worse than death? Having my Amex declined in front of a crowd, I shot back without missing a beat. His nostrils flared. For a second, I thought he might strangle me right then and there. Instead, he dragged a hand down his face, muttering curses under his breath. You're unbelievable. And fabulous, I corrected, smirking. Don't forget fabulous. Adrian leaned forward suddenly, his hand slamming against the desk beside my hip. The sound cracked through the air like a gunshot. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. I met his fire with mine. You think you're untouchable, he said, his face so close I could feel his breath ghosting over my lips. But in this world, people like you don't last a day. Then maybe you should protect me, I whispered back, lips curling into a wicked smile. Since you're clearly obsessed. His eyes widened, just a flicker, before his mask slammed back into place. I should throw you out, he said, though his voice lacked conviction. But you won't, I said softly. Because deep down, you know I'm the only spark in this dreary little dungeon you call not spa. The silence stretched again, hot and unbearable. For a moment, I swore he might kiss me. For a moment, I swore I wanted him to. But then, like a snapped wire, he pulled back. You're a liability, he growled, stalking to the other side of the room. And you're boring, I shot back, though my heart hammered so loud I thought he might hear it. The door burst open before either of us could say more. Dante strolled in, grinning ear to ear. Well, well, well. Did I interrupt a lover's quarrel? Get out! Adrian snapped. Not until I remind you that the boss, he gestured grandly at me, has a meeting with the captains in 10 minutes. I blinked. Meeting? What meeting? Dante winked. Your first official act as Queen of Chaos. I gasped. Finally, do I get a crown? Adrian groaned, rubbing his temples, and just like that, the tension broke. Not gone, not forgotten, but shoved under the rug as chaos marched forward. The conference room was exactly what I expected from these people. Dark, intimidating, and tragically lacking in natural light. A long table stretched across the room, polished black wood that gleamed under harsh overhead bulbs. Around it sat at least a dozen men, big, scarred, radiating the kind of danger that would make most people tremble. Each of them stared at me like I was a lamb walking into a den of wolves. But me? I strutted in like it was the runway at Paris Fashion Week. Gentlemen, I said, tossing my hair back, welcome to our first staff meeting. Silence. You could hear the tick of the clock on the wall. One captain, a broad man with a scar across his cheek, leaned forward. What the hell is this, Dante? Dante, lounging at the end of the table, grinned like a cat with cream. This is your new boss. Best behavior, boys. The captain's glare slid to me. This is a joke. Incorrect, I chirped, plopping myself into the chair at the head of the table. This is a strategic rebrand. Adrian sat just behind me, arms crossed, jaw so tight it could have cracked granite. His silence was louder than words, but I ignored him. I clapped my hands once. Now then, I've prepared some ideas to make this organization run smoother. Think of me as your CEO, but hotter, and with better shoes. One of the captains actually snorted. The scarred one growled, Lady, we run drugs, not stock portfolios. I gasped, clutching my pearls dramatically. Did you just admit to criminal activity out loud? In a meeting? Without even establishing an NDA? Do you want to get sued? Half the table blinked at me. The other half shifted uncomfortably, as if the concept of lawsuits was somehow scarier than murder charges. First order of business, I said, pulling a pen from my purse and scribbling on a napkin. Confidentiality agreements. Signed, sealed, notarized. No more reckless chatter. Professionalism, boys. One of the younger captains raised a tentative hand like he was back in school. Boss? What about the, cash flow? Great question, I beamed. I took a tour earlier and noticed you're storing literal piles of money in sad, ugly stacks. Hideous. Money deserves to be styled. From now on, cash will be organized in aesthetically pleasing displays. Pyramids, spirals, maybe even floral arrangements. Think, intimidating and Instagrammable. The man nodded slowly. That's actually not a bad idea. Scarface slammed his fist on the table. This is ridiculous. I slammed mine back, nearly spilling my champagne. No, sir, this is visionary leadership. I expect enthusiasm, not tantrums. Do better. Gasps, mutters, a couple muffled chuckles. Adrian's sigh behind me was so heavy it could have powered a wind turbine. I wasn't done. Second order of business. Branding. Right now you're all mafia-ish. Dark clothes, scary faces, blah blah blah, snooze. We need a logo. A slogan. Matching uniforms, tailored, of course. Something like, I tapped my chin thoughtfully. La Familia, but make it fashion, Dante actually clapped. I love it, Scarface snarled. We're not a damn clothing line. You're right, I said sweetly. Because if you were, you'd be bankrupt already. No style, no marketability, no public image. Honestly, it's embarrassing. The man surged to his feet, veins bulging, murder in his eyes. Adrian moved before I could blink, stepping between us like a wall of stone. Sit down, he ordered, voice cold enough to freeze blood. The captain hesitated, then sat seething. I smirked behind Adrian's back. God, he was terrifying when he was protective. Third order of business, I continued, completely unbothered by the near murder attempt. Client perks. Why does every business in the world offer loyalty programs except you? Buy 10 shipments, get one free. Or a points card. People love points cards. One of the younger guys leaned toward his neighbor, whispering, That could actually boost sales. Yes, Chad, I said, pointing dramatically. That's the spirit. The guy blinked. My name's not. It is now, I interrupted. Moving on. For the next 30 minutes, I lectured those hardened criminals like they were interns at my father's company. And somehow, they listened. By the end, several were nodding thoughtfully, scribbling notes like obedient schoolboys. Even Scarface, though still scowling, looked less certain in his rage. When I finally wrapped up with a grand, and that concludes today's staff meeting. The room was buzzing, not with fear, not with dissent, but with possibility, chaos, my chaos. As the captains filtered out, Dante strolled past, smirking like the devil himself. Told you, Adrian. She's got the meeting out of her hand. Adrian didn't answer. He just stared at me, his eyes unreadable, his jaw tight. I smirked at him. See? I'm a natural. He leaned down, voice low enough that only I could hear. You're going to get yourself killed. I tilted my head, smiling sweetly. Then I guess you'll just have to keep saving me, won't you? His silence burned hotter than fire. 3 days. That's all it took for my genius to ripple through the entire organization. And by ripple, I mean explode. The first sign? The cash pyramids. I'd left explicit instructions during the captain's meeting. And lo and behold, the next morning, every warehouse was suddenly filled with majestic towers of money shaped like the great pyramids of Giza. Some were even decorated with fairy lights. It was absurd. It was ridiculous, and it was fabulous. I strutted through one of the warehouses, sipping champagne, and clapped my hands. Magnificent, iconic, you boys finally understand the art of crime. One guard muttered under his breath. It's actually harder for thieves to steal now. I whipped around. See, efficient and gorgeous. You're welcome. The second sign of my brilliance? The loyalty program. I had ordered little black membership cards with gold lettering, Familia Premium Plus. Every client who bought enough. Products got a shiny card, complete with points tracking. I even added bonus perks like skip the line service and free champagne at pickup. To my utter delight, people loved it. Word spread faster than wildfire. Clients were bragging about their points like they'd just hit platinum status on an airline. Rival groups grew jealous, and suddenly our sales doubled. I nearly cried from pride. See? All it takes is a little branding. But the true masterpiece? The uniforms gone were the generic black suits. Now, every soldier strutted around in fitted, tailored outfits that looked like a cross between Italian runway models and Secret Service agents. Sleek, sharp, intimidating, and photogenic. Dante nearly wept when he saw the first squad line up. She's revolutionized us. Adrian nearly exploded. She's turned us into a goddamn fashion show. And then came the chaos. Because if you give dangerous men matching outfits, pyramids of cash, and a loyalty program, they will, naturally, become competitive. By day 4, captains were trying to outdo each other with bigger, flashier money sculptures. One squad built a cash Eiffel Tower. Another made a $sign-shaped fountain with real water. Customers started demanding extra perks with their purchases, treating shipments like VIP spa packages, and soldiers began striking poses in their new uniforms. Snapping selfies in front of cash towers, Instagram accounts were created. Hashtags trended. The Mafia had accidentally gone viral. Adrian stormed into my room on the 5th morning, slamming his phone down on the bed. Explain this. I blinked, mascara wand frozen mid-swipe. He jabbed at the screen. It was an Instagram feed. Pictures of suited men, pyramids of cash, loyalty cards, captions like Fonder, Mafia, but make it fashion and Familia Premium. Oh, that's cute, I gasped. They used the hashtag I suggested. Adrian's hands clenched. You've blown our cover! Do you understand what you've done? Yes, I said proudly. I've built brand recognition. Brand recognition? His voice cracked, sharp and raw. You've turned a criminal empire into a goddamn influencer cult. I smirked. And business is booming. He dragged his hands through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. This is madness. Absolute madness. Rival gangs will see this. The police will see this. Interpol will... Relax, I interrupted, waving a hand. Nobody actually believes it's real. They'll think it's some edgy social media campaign. Like performance art. Everyone's doing that these days. He stopped pacing, staring at me like I'd grown 2 heads. And the worst part? He couldn't argue, because God help us, it was working. Later that day, Dante cornered him in the hallway, grinning like the devil himself. She's done more in a week than we've managed in a year, Dante said. You can't deny it, Adrian growled. She's reckless. She's painting a target on all of us. She's winning, Dante countered. Look at the numbers. Look at morale. Look at the loyalty we're gaining. For once, the men are excited, motivated. They'd follow her anywhere. Adrian's silence was thick, and in that silence, he realized something terrifying. Sarah wasn't just chaos, she was power. Of course, I remained blissfully unaware of his inner turmoil. I was busy redecorating the interrogation room. Plants, I told the confused guards, pointing to the corners. And mood lighting. Interrogations don't have to be ugly. A nice ambiance can do wonders for confessions. The guards exchanged nervous looks. Adrian walked in mid-order, pinching the bridge of his nose. Are you seriously putting a ficus next to the torture chair? Yes, I said sweetly. It's called balance. He muttered something that sounded suspiciously like a prayer for patience. But the universe doesn't let things stay funny for long, because as the chaos grew, so did the whispers. Rivals were watching. Law enforcement was circling. And somewhere out there, someone had decided that Serafina Beaufort, the spoiled girl who thought a Mafia Hideout was a spa, wasn't just a joke anymore. She was a threat. It started with the roses, boxes of them delivered to the Hideout's front gates. Dozens upon dozens, lush red bouquets tied with satin ribbons. At first I thought it was a fan. Obviously. I mean, who wouldn't adore me? But tucked inside the flowers was a note. Pretty crown you've stolen, princess. Let's see how long you can keep it. I squealed. Oh my God, someone's flirting with me. Adrian ripped the note from my hand, his face stormy. This isn't flirting. This is a threat. I pouted. Ugh, men are so dramatic. What's threatening about roses? Dante plucked one from the bouquet, sniffed it theatrically. To be fair, it is a bit romantic. Maybe they're both threatening and flirting. Not helping, Adrian snapped. By nightfall, it wasn't just roses. Anonymous graffiti scrawled across nearby walls. Down with the princess. A shipment ambushed by masked rivals, and whispered rumors spreading through the underworld. Rumors that I was the new head of the Familia, and that I'd transformed the entire Mafia into a glamorous circus. Oops. The captains were furious. We're being mocked, Scarface roared at the next meeting. Other families are laughing at us? Correction, I said, sipping my champagne. They're jealous. Big difference. They're testing us. Good, I shot back, flashing a smile. That means they're scared. If they weren't scared, they'd ignore us. But they see the power, the influence, the branding, and now they're scrambling. The table erupted in shouts and arguments. I simply kicked my heels up on the table, enjoying the chaos, until Adrian's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Enough. Silence. Immediate, sharp, suffocating silence. His gaze locked on me. They're coming for you. For the first time, I felt a flicker of unease. Me? Yes, he said coldly. You're the face now. The symbol. The princess, who turned us into a spectacle. If they break you, they break all of us. The room seemed to tilt for a moment, because under his words I heard something else. Not just warning, not just anger, fear, for me. Later, back in my spa suite, I paced restless. My robe trailed behind me. My champagne went untouched. The roses sat on the dresser, their scent cloying. Threats. Rival gangs. Ambushes. This wasn't supposed to be real. It was supposed to be absurd. Funny. A cosmic joke. But now, someone out there wanted me dead. The door creaked open. Adrian slipped inside, silent as a shadow. I spun on him, words sharp to cover the knot in my throat. What, here to scold me again? Tell me I've ruined everything? No. His voice was low, steady. I blinked. No? He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. I came to tell you. You need protection. I laughed, but it cracked. Oh, fabulous. Am I getting my own security detail? A bodyguard entourage? Can they at least be hot? I'll do it, he said simply. The laugh died in my throat. You? Yes, me. His eyes locked on mine, steady, unyielding. Until this ends, I'm not letting you out of my sight. The silence stretched. I should have made a joke. Teased him. Rolled my eyes, but the weight in his gaze, it pinned me in place. You're serious, I whispered. Dead serious. Something inside me twisted. Something warm. Something dangerous. Because for the first time, Adrian wasn't treating me like a nuisance. He was treating me like someone worth guarding. Of course, I couldn't let him know that, so I flipped my hair and smirked. Fine, but you better not cramp my style. Bodyguards should always be stylish accessories. A muscle in his jaw ticked. God give me strength. But that night, as I lay in bed with Adrian sitting silently in a chair by the door, his presence heavy and constant. For the first time since this ridiculous nightmare began, I didn't feel alone. And somewhere out there, in the dark streets of the city, rival families sharpened their knives, waiting, watching, ready to test how long the princess could keep her crown. I should have known something was off the second I noticed the suspicious delivery outside my spa suite. A black van, nondescript and ominous, idled at the curb. 3 men in dark suits lingered nearby, looking far too serious for a flower delivery. I murmured, swirling my champagne. Seems dramatic, and a little dull. Let's spice it up. Adrian's sharp hiss cut through the room. Do not go outside. Oh, relax, I said, gliding to the window, my reflection perfectly coiffed. If it's a florist, I'm expecting a bouquet. If it's not a florist, well, this will be entertaining. Adrian's jaw clenched. He looked ready to throw someone through the wall. Naturally, I went outside. Because what's leadership if you can't face the front lines? In heels? The moment I stepped onto the street, the 3 men lunged. Cue chaos. I shrieked, but not from fear. No, I shrieked from delight. This is so immersive. I squealed. You're my very own action scene. Bravo, you should have sent popcorn. Adrian sprinted out of nowhere. taking down one man with a single arm lock that would make a Navy SEAL jealous. The second man froze, wide-eyed, as I twirled past him, kicking his knee with perfect precision. "Careful. Watch your posture!" I shouted, landing a perfect spin that left the man sprawling on the pavement. The third tried to grab me. I yelped, yanked a stun baton from my purse. Yes, I always carry one, and zapped him just enough to make him collapse in a heap. Adrian looked like he wanted to kill me. And honestly, I loved it. By the time Dante and a dozen guards arrived, all 3 intruders were groaning on the asphalt, tied up in my trademark way. Scarves, silk ribbons, and a little bow for style. Dante clapped slowly. "Impressive. Even I didn't think you'd survive that without a single scratch." I preened, and I wasn't even sweating. Clearly, natural talent. Adrian, on the other hand, was grinding his teeth so hard I feared a spark might fly. "You could have been killed." "And missed all this fun?" I said, flicking my hair. "Never." Dante knelt beside me, inspecting my flawless look. "You have flair, grace, chaos. It's ridiculous." "I love it." "Exactly," I said. "I'm revolutionary," Adrian glared. "You're reckless, dangerous, infuriating," I smirked. "And charming. Don't forget charming." The captured men were bound and gagged, groaning. I sauntered past them, heels clicking. "Gentlemen, consider this a spa treatment. Next time, book an appointment." Adrian's glare could have frozen lava. I turned to him, voice soft, teasing. "You should be thanking me. I just gave you 3 new recruits. Or, clients?" He gritted his teeth. "I'll handle this later." "Perfect," I said, sipping champagne as the van drove away with the groaning intruders. By the time we returned to the villa, the adrenaline had settled into a heady rush. I was glowing, and Adrian was still trying to process how a simple kidnap attempt had turned into my personal action movie. He finally said it, voice low, dangerous. "You're insane." I leaned against him, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Thank you. I take it as a compliment." His silence was long, tense, heated. Then, in a moment I didn't expect, he touched my shoulder, lightly, almost tenderly. "Promise me you'll be careful." My pulse skipped. "Oh, I promise." And for once, chaos felt safe, because as much as I had accidentally claimed the crown, accidentally reorganized an entire mafia, and accidentally survived a kidnapping, I knew one thing. Adrian Rossi, infuriating, protective, impossibly handsome, was on my side, even if he didn't want to admit it. Outside, the city hummed. Rivals were whispering. Families were plotting, and somewhere out there, the world was learning about Boss Serafina. By the next morning, I decided the mafia needed more style. Because clearly, tailored suits and cash pyramids were not enough. I stood in the grand hall, clipboard in hand, heels clicking, as Adrian glared from the corner. "You're insane," he said. Voice low, deadly. "I prefer visionary," I corrected. "And besides, it's time for the first annual Familia Fashion Parade." Adrian froze. "Fashion what?" "You heard me. Fashion parade," the captains muttered among themselves. Scarface nearly fainted. Dante choked on his cigar. I clapped my hands. "Gentlemen, assemble your squads. Today we showcase our power and style, all in one breathtaking spectacle." One captain muttered, "You're joking." I tilted my head, smiling sweetly. "I never joke about business, darling. Or fashion." Adrian's hands twitched. By afternoon, the courtyard was a runway. Soldiers strutted. Cash pyramids gleamed behind them, and drones hovered overhead, streaming live footage. I had insisted on thematic outfits. Corporate assassin, gothic godfather, pastel psycho. The crowd, comprised of all loyal clients and some terrified rival spies, watched in stunned silence. Adrian, standing beside me, was breathing through his teeth. Every glare in my direction could have melted steel. I leaned toward him, whispering, "Relax. This is brilliant marketing." He growled. "It's lunacy." "You're inviting attacks," I twirled dramatically. "Exactly. Fear is fashion's best accessory." By the third rotation, the first rival family made their move. A squad of masked men burst through the gates, brandishing weapons. I gasped in mock shock. Oh my, an uninvited guest? How rude. Adrian immediately went into protective mode, fists ready. But I had my own plan. Everyone strike a pose. I yelled. The soldiers, trained killers, froze mid-motion. Then inexplicably they posed. Drones captured it all. Live streaming it. The rivals stopped, blinking in confusion. I sauntered toward the intruders, heels clacking. Gentlemen, welcome to the Familia Fashion Parade. Please join the fun. There are prizes for creativity. The men hesitated. One tried to lunge at me. I twirled, grabbed a silk scarf from my purse, and wrapped it around his wrist. The other end I tied to a lamppost. He ended up dangling halfway off the ground. Adrian's jaw dropped. I curtsied. Thank you for volunteering. Always read the dress code before attending. By the end, all rival intruders were either tied up, confused, or oddly inspired. Some soldiers had actually applauded. Dante was doubled over, laughing until tears rolled down his face. She's actually terrifying. Adrian finally shoved his hands through his hair. I literally cannot. I leaned close to him, voice teasing. Relax, darling. You'll get used to being terrified. It's part of the job description. He didn't answer. He just stared. And somewhere in the chaos I realized I loved this. Loved the power. Loved the chaos. Loved that Adrian, infuriating, protective, unflinchingly serious Adrian Rossi, was finally paying attention to me. By nightfall, our rivals had retreated, muttering threats. I sipped champagne on the balcony, surveying the transformed courtyard. Soldiers in their couture outfits, cash pyramids glittering under the moonlight, drones capturing every absurd detail. Adrian appeared beside me silently. Arms crossed, still scowling. You're lucky, he said finally, voice tight. This time it worked. I leaned against him, playful and proud. I always work. He didn't respond, but I caught the flicker of admiration in his eyes. And as the city slept below us, I knew one thing: chaos, fashion, and ridiculous leadership. I was just getting started. It was late. The villa was quiet, almost deceptively so, with only the faint hum of security cameras and the occasional clink of glasses from the remaining guards. I was in my suite, lounging on the chaise with a silk robe draped perfectly over me, a glass of champagne in hand, reviewing the chaos reports Dante had sent me. And then he appeared, Adrian, standing in the doorway like a storm about to break. You're impossible, he growled, voice low, dangerous. I tilted my head, smirk curling. That's what they all say. He stepped forward, eyes dark, jaw tight. You're reckless. You're chaotic. You put yourself, and everyone else, in danger every single day. And yet, I purred, taking a slow sip of champagne. Here you are, watching me, protecting me, fascinated. His lips twitched. Not quite a smile, more like a warning. You're testing me, he said, moving closer, each step deliberate. And I'm done pretending I can ignore it. Oh? I raised a brow, leaning forward on one elbow. Test away, darling. I'm sure you'll enjoy the results. He closed the distance, towering over me. My pulse sped, heart hammering not from fear, but from something hotter, sharper. You have no idea what you're playing with, he whispered, so close I could feel his breath. I tilted my chin up defiantly. And yet, I play anyway. A flash of emotion, anger, desire, frustration crossed his face. Then he gripped my wrist and yanked me up, pulling me against him. I gasped, teetering in heels, and he didn't release me. You're infuriating, he growled, voice harsh, low, dangerous. And you can't what? I teased, tilting my head up, eyes locking with his. He inhaled sharply, jaw flexing. Ignore you. Forget you. Pretend you're not constantly turning my world upside down. I laughed softly, breathless. Oh, honey, you should have learned by now. I don't do normal, and neither do you. He didn't respond, just stared at me, the room shrinking until it was only us. Then, chaos. A sudden crash from the corridor. Guards shouting. Someone tripping over a Twinkie box I'd left in the hallway. The tension snapped. Adrian cursed under his breath. dragging me away from the window and into the hallway to assess the emergency. I stumbled along, letting him grip my elbow, though I secretly loved the way his body pressed close. "Seriously," he muttered, voice low enough for only me. "You're a disaster." "And yet," I replied, smirking, "you follow me everywhere." He stopped mid-step, jaw tight. "Because someone has to keep you alive," I raised a brow. "Or because you enjoy it." His eyes darkened, stormy, unreadable. He didn't answer, just pulled me along, and I realized maybe he didn't have to, because every move, every step, every heartbeat said it all. Later, back in my suite, he finally spoke, voice low, rough. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me?" I pretended to sip my champagne. "I've made an impression, yes. Most people take months to get under your skin." His laugh was a sharp, dangerous thing. "You're insane." "And fabulous," I corrected with a grin. He groaned, dropping onto the chaise beside me, close enough I could feel the heat from his body. "You're impossible." "And yet," I whispered, leaning just slightly into him, "here you are." He didn't answer, didn't move. But the tension in the air was thick, unrelenting, and for the first time, I felt it. The dangerous, thrilling, chaotic pull between us. Outside, the villa was calm. Too calm, rivals were plotting. Dante was probably laughing somewhere. The city had no idea what was coming next. And in the suite, in the middle of chaos, laughter, and danger, Adrian and I existed. A moment of stillness in the storm. And something told me it wouldn't last long. The city slept, but the underworld did not. By the time dawn broke, whispers had rippled through every dark alley, smoky bar, and neon-lit backroom. The princess rules. The familia has become unrecognizable, and the rivals? Furious. It started quietly. A few low-level emissaries showing up with suggestions. Suggestions that were basically veiled threats. I read them over breakfast, swirling champagne in my hand, silk robe flaring dramatically. "Your leadership is reckless. Return the crown or face consequences." I gasped. "Oh my God. Someone actually thinks they can dethrone me." Adrian's jaw twitched. "This isn't funny." "Oh, it's hilarious," I said. "Do they not know chaos is my brand?" Dante laughed from the doorway. "She's going to love what comes next." By mid-morning, the emissaries had returned. With friends. And their friends had friends. Soon, a dozen rival families had converged near the Familia Villa. Their banners, weapons, and expressions screamed war. I clapped my hands, thrilled. "This is excellent." Finally, an audience worthy of the debut. Adrian's glare could have ignited gasoline. "You're insane." "They're coming to kill you." I tilted my head, smiling. "Exactly. And they'll have to look fabulous while trying." By noon, the courtyard was filled with rival mafiosos, armed and furious. The Familia soldiers stood ready in their couture uniforms. I stepped forward, heels clicking. "Gentlemen, welcome. I hope you enjoyed our little fashion parade yesterday. We've upgraded. More glitz, more glam, more chaos." The rivals froze. A few whispered among themselves, clearly confused. Adrian muttered under his breath, "They think she's mocking them." I smiled sweetly. "Oh, darling, I am." Then came the first move. A masked rival lunged toward me, knife raised. I twirled dramatically, heels clicking, and sidestepped. The knife embedded itself in a cash pyramid behind me. "Perfect placement," I squealed. "Really accents the ambiance," Adrian snarled, tackling the man to the ground. "I swear, one more stunt like this." "Relax," I said, brushing imaginary dust off my robe. "I always survive." By mid-afternoon, what should have been a full-blown massacre had devolved into something resembling chaos theater. The Familia soldiers, inspired by my madness, started using fashion as a weapon. Smoke bombs replaced with glitter bombs, drones filming every move, and somehow the rivals kept tripping over cash pyramids. Dante was doubled over, laughing so hard tears rolled down his face. "This is art, pure chaotic art." Adrian, meanwhile, was muttering dark threats under his breath while keeping one eye on me, obviously ready to murder anyone who got too close. Hours later, after dozens of confused rival attempts, The battlefield was strewn with toppled cash pyramids, glitter-coated men, and a few dazed would-be assassins. I stood on top of a small pile of dollar bills, arms wide, dramatic cape flaring. "See, chaos reigns supreme." Adrian, kneeling beside a toppled soldier, glared at me like I'd personally caused global warming. "You're impossible. And fabulous," I added cheerfully. By sunset, the rivals had retreated. Shaken, bewildered, completely unsure of what they'd just witnessed. Dante clapped from the side. "Remarkable. She's not just surviving, she's dominating," I beamed. "Exactly. Leadership is about vision, style, and chaos. And I excel in all three." Adrian didn't argue. He just let me bask in my ridiculous victory, though his hand brushed mine occasionally, protective, tense. And somehow, in that chaos, I realized something important. Rivals, threats, danger. They didn't scare me, because chaos was home. And Adrian, terrifying, infuriating, maddening Adrian, was mine. The city below slept, oblivious. The underworld had just learned one simple truth. Boss Serafina Beaufort didn't follow rules. She made them. An invitation arrived in a gilded envelope, scented faintly with roses. I gasped, fluttering it delicately. "Oh my god, a gala! Finally, a chance to show everyone my aesthetic genius." Adrian snatched it from my hands. His jaw was tight. "It's a trap." "Oh, please," I said, twirling a strand of hair. "Everything I do is a trap." "For them?" Dante popped up behind him. "She's right. This will be glorious. Just let her run wild." Adrian groaned. The gala was set in the grand hall of the rival family's estate. Crystal chandeliers, red carpets, more silk than I thought a building could hold. I arrived fashionably late. Of course, in a gown that glimmered like chaos itself, deep crimson, studded with sequins, a train that practically had its own zip code. Gasps followed me as I swept through the entrance. Soldiers in tailored suits lined the path, saluting with a flourish. Drones hovered above, live-streaming my entrance. Adrian muttered, "You're going to get us all killed." I smiled. "Exactly." The rival patriarch, a grizzled man with a permanent scowl, stepped forward. "Serafina Beaufort." I came to extend an olive branch. I bowed dramatically, letting my gown spill around me. "How delightful. And you brought gifts? Champagne? Chocolates? Maybe some glitter?" The man blinked. "I brought assurances of peace." I clapped my hands. "Splendid. Then we shall celebrate with style." The gala quickly devolved. I orchestrated a fashion duel between the rival family's soldiers and mine. Glitter cannons replaced bullets. Confetti bombs exploded like fireworks. Cash pyramids became barricades. Adrian was practically vibrating, moving with lethal precision to intercept anyone who got too close. But secretly, I think he enjoyed watching me in my element. "You're insane," he growled, as I twirled past a group of masked attackers, tossing rose petals in their faces. "And fabulous," I added, sending a particularly high-spirited confetti missile Adrian's way. He dodged, scowling, but there was a flash of something. Admiration, amusement, desire. By the middle of the gala, chaos had turned to spectacle. Rival soldiers were now part of the performance, unwilling participants in my absurd pageantry. Drone cameras captured every ridiculous detail. Social media exploded. News outlets buzzed with stories of the Mafia princess who threw the most chaotic gala ever. I clinked my glass to the tune of the mayhem. "See, leadership isn't just about survival. It's about style, spectacle, and chaos. And I am excellent at all three." Adrian finally cornered me during a brief lull, voice low. "Dangerous. You're playing a game with people who will kill you." I leaned in close, brushing my fingers along his chest, deliberately teasing. "Oh, darling. They already want to kill me. The question is, who's lucky enough to survive the chaos?" His jaw flexed. His hands twitched. He didn't answer. Couldn't answer. But the tension between us sizzled hotter than any bomb I'd set off that night. By the gala's end, the rival patriarch had no choice but to kneel in reluctant respect. "You are chaos incarnate," he admitted, voice begrudgingly awed. I smiled, curtsying with flair. Exactly. And now you see, sometimes chaos wins. Always with style, Dante cheered from behind a toppled candelabra. She's untouchable. Adrian stood silently, jaw tight, eyes smoldering, and for once didn't say a word, because he couldn't. Not when the chaos, the glitter, the power, and yes, me, were right in front of him. And as the city slept beneath the sparkling chaos of the gala, I realized something important. Being the Princess of Chaos wasn't just fun, it was dangerous, thrilling, terrifying, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The gala was over. The glitter had settled, the rival families had fled, and the courtyard smelled faintly of champagne, roses, and scorched cash pyramids. I was back in my suite, heels kicked off, robe slightly askew, sipping the last of my champagne. And then he appeared, Adrian. Standing in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight. Eyes stormy and unreadable. "You're insane," he said, voice low, dangerous, almost a growl. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. "I prefer brilliant. And besides, you love it." He stepped closer, closing the distance between us. Every step deliberate, measured, powerful. My pulse sped. Not from fear, not from danger, but from him. "You're reckless," he growled, voice soft but sharp. "You put yourself in danger, in ways I can't protect you from, and yet you love it. You thrive on it. You—" He swallowed hard, jaw flexing. You make me feel things I didn't think I could feel." I blinked, stunned. "You feel things?" "Yes," he hissed. "Desire, frustration, fear, infuriation, obsession, and I hate it. I hate you, and I can't get away. Not that I want to." I stepped closer, daring, teasing. "You hate me?" "No," he whispered, voice trembling with a dangerous mixture of emotion. "I don't hate you. I can't stop thinking about you, about how you throw yourself into chaos, how you smile when danger is everywhere, how—" He shook his head, voice cracking. "How you make me feel powerless. And I hate it. I hate feeling this way." I blinked, breath catching. His eyes, stormy, dark, unreadable, locked onto mine. "And yet," I whispered, leaning just slightly closer, "you didn't walk away. You stayed, even though you hate it." "Why?" He inhaled sharply. His hand brushed a strand of my hair from my face. "Because I care. Because I need to protect you. Because I can't let anyone at all hurt you. Especially not me." The air between us was electric, charged, dangerous. I felt it in my chest. My pulse, my heat, my chaos. "You're serious," I breathed. "Yes," he said, his voice low, rough, unwavering. "I'm terrified of you, and I'm obsessed, and I want you. Don't think this is just about duty." I shivered despite myself, leaning into him, letting the tension build. "Obsession, danger, chaos. Sounds like my type," I whispered, teasing yet trembling with something raw and real. He groaned softly, voice breaking. "You're impossible." "And fabulous," I added with a sly grin. He shook his head, running a hand down his face, exasperated but captivated. "I'm warning you," he growled. "If anyone hurts you, if anyone lays a hand on you, I will—" I pressed a finger to his lips. "Shh, not now, just stay." He froze. For a heartbeat, the chaos of the world outside, the rival families, the glittered battlefield, the shattered pyramids, didn't exist. It was just him. Just me, just this dangerous, thrilling, maddening pull between us. And then finally he kissed me, softly. Tentatively at first, like testing fire. Then harder, deeper, consuming. Hands gripping, hearts pounding, breaths mingling, the tension, the desire, the chaos of everything else, all funneled into that one moment. I laughed softly against his lips, breathless, wild. "See? Chaos isn't just for the battlefield," he groaned, pressing me closer. I can't, you're impossible. And fabulous," I whispered again, grinning against him. Somewhere, far below, the city slept. But in that suite, amid silk and champagne, Chaos and power, two hearts collided, dangerous and reckless, and perfectly, beautifully unstoppable. The city was alive with whispers. The princess rules. The Familia has become untouchable. Chaos reigns supreme, and I, Serafina Beaufort, stood at the top of it all, heels perfectly placed, robe perfectly draped, champagne glass glinting under the morning sun. Adrian appeared at my side, as always, silent, lethal, impossibly handsome. His presence was grounding, restraining, terrifying, and yet thrilling. "You've done it," he said softly, voice low, dangerous. "They won't touch you." "They can't touch you, you're untouchable," I smirked. "I know. I told you chaos is a superpower," he growled, half frustrated, half admiring. "You're insane." "And fabulous," I added sweetly, leaning just slightly into him. The Familia was buzzing. Soldiers in couture uniforms, trained with the precision of elite assassins and the flair of runway models. Cash pyramids stood like monuments. Drones hovered, capturing every absurd, magnificent detail. Dante bounded over, clapping like a madman. "She's untouchable." "We're untouchable!" I raised my glass. "To chaos, style, and the Familia." The soldiers cheered, striking poses worthy of magazine covers even as their enemies lurked in the shadows. But of course, the world wouldn't stay quiet for long. Rival families, humbled by the galas, glitter-bombed parades, and absurd spectacles, tried one last desperate push. A convoy appeared at dawn, engines roaring, banners flapping. I leaned on the balcony, hands on my hips, hair perfectly chaotic in the wind. "Oh, they brought a parade? How cute," Adrian growled. "They're serious this time," I laughed. "So am I. Let's give them a show." The ensuing battle was magnificent. Glitter cannons fired. Confetti exploded. Cash pyramids became barricades. Soldiers struck poses mid-combat. Drones broadcasted live. Rivals were confused, terrified, and somehow impressed. Adrian moved like a shadow beside me, lethal and precise, while I danced through the chaos with champagne in one hand and a silk scarf in the other. Every swing, every step, every laugh cemented my reign. By midday, the last of the rival convoy had retreated. The courtyard was glitter-coated, scented with roses and champagne, and littered with toppled pyramids. Soldiers posed triumphantly, some holding drones like trophies. I descended the grand staircase, cape flaring, heels clicking like a drumbeat of domination. Adrian fell in step beside me. "You're impossible." "And fabulous," I said, spinning dramatically, tossing him a wink. Later, alone in my suite, I surveyed the chaos I'd created. The Familia was stronger than ever. Rivals were terrified. The city whispered my name with equal parts awe and fear. Adrian leaned against the doorway, silent, watching me, his eyes unreadable. "You did it," he finally said, voice low. "I know," I said, smirking, swirling champagne. "I always do." He stepped closer, dangerous, protective, impossibly close. "And me?" I raised an eyebrow. "You? Oh, you survived. Barely," he smirked faintly. "Barely. Barely fabulous," I corrected. The sun set over the city, bathing the villa in gold. And in that light, I realized it. Chaos was power. Style was influence. Danger was thrilling, and I, spoiled girl turned mafia queen, was unstoppable, with Adrian by my side. Lethal, protective, infuriating Adrian. And together, chaos and love, glitter and guns, we ruled. The princess had claimed her crown. The city, the mafia. The world would never be the same, and I wouldn't have it any other way.